Hi, this is Jeacocke. Thanks for clicking on this video. It's an intriguing verse. God hardened the heart of the Pharaoh, and you find it in Exodus of the Old Testament of the Bible. Now, for me, there's 3 points of view. So, unless I read anything on the subject, this is how I come to understand the verse. 1, it's a literal verse. By that I mean, when the Pharaoh was asked the question to let the Hebrew slaves go, God intervened at that very second, and the Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he rejected the request. Now, the second option, which I kind of like the idea of, is when it says God hardened the heart, this is like a description of, well, this is one of the functions, or not functions, this is one of the consequences of what happens when God creates a species such as human beings. You see, when God created human beings, he gave them free will to reject him. And I think this is what the verse is implying. I mean, so when the Pharaoh said, no, your people will not leave, this wasn't directly involving God, as it were, but it involves God in the sense that what the Pharaoh said was granted by God to be able to be said. You see, let me illustrate it. If the Pharaoh was a dog, or even a cat, and they could speak, like we have talking, in the story. Actually, I'm going to move on a bit. When the Hebrews were eventually freed, and they were wandering about, and there was a prophet, and there was a donkey, and the donkey was able to speak, I think, through the Holy Spirit of God. Now, let's imagine the Pharaoh was a talking animal, right? The Pharaoh as a talking animal would not have the freedom to say yes or no. It needs the breath of life, which God did. If you know, in the book of Genesis, that's what separates animals from human beings, the breath of life. And I think that is what the point of this verse in the story of Exodus is all about. When God hardened the heart, this is an example of what happens when God breathes life into his creation. By doing so, you have the luxury to reject God, despite the consequences of what that may be. And I can further illustrate this with an example from the law courts. If a drunk driver was in the court accused of a crime and the judge found him guilty, the judge could say, our statutes say a man cannot drive. not a man, a human being cannot drive while intoxicated with drink or any limit of alcohol in his system. Now, at that moment in time, when those words were uttered and he, the drunk driver, heard those words, he is not ignorant of being warned. He knows the consequences, because the judge would further explain he would be punished. So, if the drunk driver on a separate occasion was accused again of drunk driving, and he went into the courtroom and it was the same judge residing, the judge can say, you will be punished because, if you remember, I gave you a warning. And that's the situation that we find with the Hebrew slaves and the Pharaoh and Moses. The Pharaoh was given the warning. Now, the Pharaoh could have looked up the history of why the Hebrew slaves were in possession of land. But he chose to ignore common sense for some reason. Or maybe he did and the Bible didn't tell us. But the fact is, if somebody warns you, you don't need to trust the warning, but you can look into the warning, and by looking into the warning, by that I mean look into the person who made the warning to see if it could be legitimate, you can then trust that warning after acquiring the right knowledge. So, did Pharaoh reject the warnings of Moses and his brother? Vainly, or did he actually look into it with wisdom? I don't know, but that wasn't my point of this video. And the last point of view of the verse is, it may be something else that I don't know. Like, if I read a commentary on that book, I'll find the answer. But this is just what I'm personally thinking about it all, which is, well, it could be worse, but I'm actually wishing for God's guidance when I'm reading the Bible, because I want to trust God rather than completely trust scholars to tell me what's written in the Bible. I'll go to scholars when I'm really struggling, when I don't have the answers. But anyway, hope you're enjoying your day, wherever it is. Shalom.